First of all, I'd like to thank the Florida Department of Health for working so closely with us over these past few weeks. We have important information to share about coronavirus. As you know, the safety of our students and the staff is our top priority. That's been true during my 5 years as superintendent, and it will remain true during the tenure of our new superintendent. Addison Davis and I have been working alongside each other for nearly 2 weeks, and I have every confidence in him. Hillsborough students will be in very capable hands. Addison will be officially taking over after spring break, and that means he'll be managing our ongoing response to coronavirus. With that in mind, I'm going to ask Addison Davis to share this update. Addison.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And first and foremost, as Superintendent Akins spoke about, really want to thank the Department of Health for working with us late in the night up to 1 o'clock in the morning to be able to triage and to make a proactive stance that we are going to make today about Farnell Middle School. We have been informed that a person that has continuous contact at our schools has been exposed to an individual that has tested positive for the coronavirus. From our side, we do know that this has been, the interaction has been over the last 6 days. This individual, through conversations with him last night and to the Department of Health, has not shown any symptoms within while he's been with our schools, with our students. However, he has taken the recommendations of the health department and will self-isolate, and that process will start immediately. With that said, we are taking an immediate stance to make certain that we close Farnell Middle School for the next 48 hours. And the rationale for that is to make certain that we do our due diligence and follow the health departments along with the CDC's recommendations, in the sense that we have to take the necessary steps to prepare our school in order to prepare them for the cleanliness action that we will take immediately. We'll go and reiterate that we have sent out parent links to every one of our parents that are impacted through an email, along with a robocall communication, to let them know that please do not send your students to school, do not send your child to a bus stop, and to make certain that we know that no one will have accessibility to that school over the next 48 hours and potentially into spring break. This also goes for our employees as well. We want to make certain that we do take proactive steps for our students, but also protect the working conditions of our employees. And now we come to our next steps. Our next steps, we will treat these next 48 hours such as hurricane days, which are potentially built into our calendars, meaning that students will receive Austin communications from our teachers through SB, and where they can upload materials and information to continue that learning process. And teachers will be able to have external opportunities sitting outside of our schools at home to continue to plan for the remaining semesters within our schools. What does that mean for us from an organization related to the operational side? That means that for the next 24 hours, we have to be able to shut down the entire AC within our building. And what that's going to allow us to do to let all the air particles transition down, where we can have accessibility to be able to take a deep clean. We will work closely with our operations department through Mr. Farkas and Mr. Culpepper to make sure that we have a vendor that's on standby. We've had those individuals ready weeks ago, just in case. And they will come in and do a light thermal fog within every one of our classrooms, every one of our offices, every one of our common areas, to make certain that we get any particles that haven't been accessible through letting the AC turned off and transitioned down. That means that after that fog, we will go in and do a deep clean in every one of our classrooms and every one of our offices, to make certain that our school is properly prepared to intake right after spring break. We will continue to keep the community apprised of our next steps, and to make certain that they truly understand that this decision is based on children. It is a precautionary measure that we will take this decision. As you see, this coronavirus is a national epidemic at this state, and we want to make certain that we show the same care to everyone within our organization, especially our children, the working conditions of our adults. At this time, we also want to say that we have taken, weeks ago, we have a strategic plan that we are taking many steps of every one of our schools. Every one of our schools, when you come into the main entrance, you see that they have hand sanitizers machines, not only in the entrance, but in our cafe, and also over 1,000 buses within our schools. We are providing every one of our schools with the necessary Lysol wipes as well, and that we are taking proactive steps to make certain that we have 2 areas within our clinics, one for individuals who are well, who need services, an additional area for those who are identified as sick. From a medical standpoint, we are also making certain that we have, posters around every one of our classrooms in the common areas within our schools, educating our students and our employees and individuals that transition to our schools about symptoms of this virus and what proactive steps they need to take in order to make certain that they wash their hands and they make sure they keep themselves updated about whether or not they have symptoms of sneezing, coughing, fever, so that they can really continue to coordinate with the health department and continue to let us know. Furthermore, we will say that spring break's coming up. We do know that parents will be transitioning, on their time, maybe potentially out of the state and out of the country. Anyone that is transitioning out of the country in Hillsborough County that attends our schools, we're asking you to contact us and also contact the health department, because we will want to make certain that you do have that self-isolation period, which is between 0 and 14 days, so that you can take the necessary steps to protect yourself and also to protect others. But once again, I want to reiterate, this individual that is coming in contact with another person that is not in Hillsborough County, and at the same time, right now, this individual that we have potentially identified has not and does not have any symptoms at this time. Yes, sir.
Two questions. One, is this person a child or a staff member? And number two, is 48 hours enough? I mean, what you talk to the public health professionals?
So, at this time, we can't release the identity of this individual. We will make certain that we follow all HIPAA rules and regulations. And 48 hours for us is 2 days that transition to spring break. So it gives us sufficient and significant time to go in with our vendors to do that deep dive and assessment of the building in order to get it prepared for when we come back for spring break.
Because spring break starts this weekend.
Spring break does start this weekend on Saturday coming. Anything, Mr. Culpepper? Mr. Farkas? Mr. Super?
Mr. Davis, good morning.
Good morning.
I just wondered if the parents, we're wondering if parents
Yeah.
are all going to be notified in time. Are they getting robocalls, emails? Can you talk about that?
Yes, ma'am, we did. We have updated every one of our parents that have been impacted within this middle school. We've sent out a robocall articulating our stance. At the same time, we've also sent out an email as well. So we're making certain that we have a two-pronged approach to connect with all of our stakeholders so they can make an informed decision for child care if necessary.
Mr. Davis, what's the plan in general over spring break? Because this thing is changing day by day. I imagine there will be some planning and contingencies.
Yes, ma'am. We do have a solid plan. This team in Hillsborough has been fantastic. All the staff members under the direction of Mr. Akins, they've worked diligently to have a strategic plan just in case a scenario like this has come apprised. So what we're doing, we're working to make certain that we'll work Mr. Culpepper and also our outside vendor to figure out the status of the school. We'll be in constant communication with those who are impacted. Right now, through our many departments, through Mr. Farkas and along with Mr. Ayers and Debbie Cook, we have created a strategic plan, just in case we have to extend the closure for e-learning. We are making certain we will do a survey for everyone within this organization to determine whether or not they have accessibility to mobile devices, and also accessibility to Wi-Fi, so that we can continue the learning momentum and consistent momentum to make certain when children are outside of the school, they continue to have accessibility, high quality instructional processes, so they can feel in a safe place where they can continue to learn, and that we're there. Our teachers are ready to upload it to go. And as that plan right now has been in draft form, and we should finalize it here in a short period of time, just in case this has to be extended. But at this time, I don't believe we have no indication this will have to be extended outside of spring break, but we promise to keep everyone informed about our current status so that you know what steps we have to take and will be taken immediately after this deep clean.
Should we expect to hear about any other schools closing?
No, sir. At this time, we have no indication that this has impacted any other school in Hillsborough County. If we do, we will make certain that we are in immediate connection with that individual, that family, that student, and at the same time with the health department. Really thankful for Dr. Holt for taking our call such late last night, and also Kevin as well. They've been so gracious and on top of this, and that partnership has been solid over the last couple of hours.
Are there any plans to help parents that may not be able to stay home for their kids and they can't find childcare?
At this time, for those individuals going to middle school, we will not offer any additional before or after school care. We have no accessibility to that middle school at all. And one thing we don't want to do is take individuals that may have been subjected to this person to go to another school and for that to grow legs. So at this time we do not. The good thing is it's middle school. It's not elementary school, so we're in a better situation related to the potential needed care for after and before school.
Do we know how many students at that school receive free or reduced lunch? Because sometimes that's the only meal that kids get during the day.
Yes, ma'am. I do not have that number. We'll get that number to you.
The notification process, how did that happen? Did you guys go to this person, or did they come to you and say, I have this?
So the health department contacted us through their analysis and interaction with the other individual that tested positive. So from our side, they contacted us, and then we started to reach out to the proper individuals to make certain that they are seeking and following the recommendations by the health department.
How many students at Farnell Middle?
It's about 1,300?
Yep, around 1,300, sorry, day 8, so.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, when school comes back after spring break, let's assume that people will be nervous and they might want to keep their kids home
Sure.
even if they have no reason and no symptoms. Can you talk a little bit about what attendance policies are going to look like and what type of accommodations you may have to make?
Yes, ma'am, it's a good question. We are going to do everything that we can to prepare this building for students to come back. And in any way, shape, or form that we feel that it's not the right environment or exposure for our children, then we will articulate that openly. As it relates to, right now, the blessing is that this individual does not have any symptoms related to the coronavirus, just exposure to an individual that had been identified 6 days ago. So we'll know in the next 7 or 8 days of whether or not symptoms are going to be apparent. And so that puts us in a situation to have a better stance to articulate to parents to give them a psychologically safe place to send their children back to school. If we get to a point where it needs to extend, we will modify our attendance plan. Right now, we'll stay constant and the same as outlined by school board policy. And if we need to make the adjustments, we will, to make certain that no one is hindered from that decision. As always, it's the parents' decision to make, whether or not they send their child to school. It is our job to create the best experience and the best environment for that learner to come and give them comfort that we've done everything that we can to create the best environment where they feel safe to send their child to the school.
But for the rest of the schools, though, if people feel the need to self-isolate,
Right.
I mean.
Sure. So if it's one thing we're doing, if we feel that a student or, is a part where they may be feeling the symptoms to self-isolate, the only thing we do ask is that for them to send notification from their parent and potentially whether it's the health department or also their doctor so that we can follow the right policies and make certain. And in that time, we want to make certain they have constant communication with the schools and we have constant communications with them so that we can potentially, if it begins 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, that we are uploading the instructional materials virtually and they have accessibility to it. So we're working with a number of our partners, with Spectrum and others to be able to triage that if that comes to fruition. Yes, ma'am.
Superintendent, Farnell has a group of history kids that are jumping on a plane this morning for a trip. Are you aware of that? The district has banned flights, but I'm hearing from a couple parents that Farnell does have a group of students flying to the D.C. area. Do you know about that specifically, and what has been done seeing Farnell is now connected to this
Sure.
summer, state program?
So at this time, we suspended all air travel, around 24 hours ago. So, that was something that we extended to every school. So we have no knowledge of any school that is going to continue that air travel. Now, if you have parents that decide that they want to put their children in that type of environment and they want to go and transition to a trip that they've already have, that's on the parent. From a school perspective, our stance was immediately yesterday that no air travel will be approved, from our side, we tried to make certain that we didn't put children in that opportunity to have that recycled air. So, I'll look into it. At my knowledge right now, that we hope that everyone took our recommendation, because this is very serious for us, serious for our learners, and serious for our community. Yes, ma'am.
You're addressing the school and cleaning that, but what about the buses? The kids take the buses to school.
Yes, ma'am. Everything is going to be, anything that children become interactive with for the last couple of days, we are taking the proactive steps. Mr. Farkas, Mr. Culpepper's team is ready to go. They've already signaled, the next steps for us, and that will be a part of the 48-hour inclusive deep dive clean.
And did the buses go to any other schools from Farnell? Do you guys share, or the buses that go to that school?
I'm certain potentially that they are in a feeder pattern. So within that feeder pattern, there potentially could be a number of schools that they impact. And the good thing is we have a number of extra fleet, I believe, within the school district, and we will use those buses in order to take on the different routes.
Can you delve more into the Pinellas connection?
I don't know anything about Pinellas.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
We checked on the Farnell. We did cancel the trip. The travel agent did extend an offer to some parents if they wanted to go on a
Okay.
non-sponsored trip.
There we go.
So anything they were doing today would not be associated
Thank you.
with us.
Thank you,
The
sir.
only other point that you might want to make is that, from our understanding of the health department, the two people that had this contact, neither of them knew about the coronavirus.
That's right.
They were infected.
Good point.
No one went negligently to our school.
Sure. Yeah. So at the end of the day, when after speaking to the health department, to Grayson's point, there just wasn't any notification that they were positive in any way, shape, or form. Knowingly, this individual would not transition to our schools, and they would take the recommendation of self-isolating. So that's a good point. And from, like I said, once again, as we transition to spring break, which starts on Saturday, just please be mindful of your travels, and anybody out of the country, do your due diligence to make sure you contact us so that we can work with you with the health department to take the necessary self-isolation steps so that we can protect yourself, protect your family, your friends, your loved ones in our schools, our children in this community. Thank you.